Math. When you need help, you use Minute Math.
I'm Sean Gannon, and this is Minute Math. And today we're going to learn about multi-step inequalities. We're going to solve each inequality and graph its solution. So if I was given this inequality, 3 is less than a negative 5n plus a 2n. Well, first thing is I'm going to simplify this. So I'm going to combine the 5n, or negative 5n, and the 2n, and that gives me a negative 3n. And that's equal to my 3, or 3 is less than a negative 3n. I then have to divide by a negative 3 to both sides. What that does, when you divide by a negative 3 to both sides, it doesn't give you a less than sign. Okay, when you divide by negative 3 to both sides, n's by itself on the right, 3 divided by negative 3 is a negative 1 on the left. But since we divided over the inequality, that less than sign needs to be a greater than sign. So we have negative 1 is greater than n. Now I need to rewrite this to have n come first. So to do that, n comes first. I flip the inequality sign back over, less than negative 1. And there we have it. We have n isolated by itself, and it's less than a negative 1. So now I need to graph it. Okay, so look at my number line here, 0, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? If n is less than a negative 1, we have an open circle at the negative 1. And then I shade to the left, because the arrow, right, is less than sign, we shade to the left. So n is less than negative 1. Open circle there, because it's not equal to, and it's less than, so for the arrow to the left. And now our graph matches our answer that of an n is less than negative 1. 6x plus 2 plus 6x is less than 14. Okay? Well, I need to combine my x's together on that one side. So 6x plus 6x, I'm kind of going to jump the gun here. Alright, skip the 2. 6x plus 6x is at 12x. And now I'm left with the 2. There is less than 14. Now I want to subtract the 2 to both sides, leaving me with 12x is less than 12. I then can divide by 12 to both sides, giving me x by itself is less than 12 divided by 12 is 1, and there we have it. We have x isolated, and it's less than 1. So now I need to graph it. Graphing it here. 4, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, and negative 4. Okay? So if x is less than 1, I'm going to put an open circle at 1. Open circle because it's not equal to. Then I put my arrow to the left because x is also less than 1. So I shade to the left there. And there we have it. We have our graph here that matches our inequality, showing that x is less than 1. Negative p is less than 4p, which is greater than a negative 10. Well, I'm going to combine my like terms. Negative p minus 4p is a negative 5p. And it's greater than a negative 10. Now, there's multiplication there. I'm going to divide both sides by a negative 5. And in doing that, by dividing both sides by a negative 5, it leaves me with the p still on the left. But on the right, I have negative 10 divided by negative 5, which is a positive 2. Also important now, last little bit. Divided by negative 5 over an inequality, we flip that inequality. Okay? So the greater than sign becomes a less than sign. And there we have it. P is less than 2. Okay, P is isolated. Fantastic. So now let's make a graph here. 0, let's go by 2's. 4, 6, 8, negative 2, negative 4, negative 6. Well, since P is less than 2 and not equal to, we put an open circle at 2. And then I need to shade to the left because it said P is less than 2. So shade to the left. And now we have our graph. That graph represents and matches our answer, which is our final inequality. P is less than 2. 18 is greater than or equal to 5k plus 4k. Okay? So I have 18 is greater than or equal to 5k plus 4k. I'm going to combine my 5k and 4k together. So we have 18 greater than or equal to 5k plus 4k is 9k. Okay? Now I want to divide by 9 to both sides to get k by itself. 18 divided by 9 is 2. 2 is greater than or equal to k. Now, I'm going to rewrite this so I have k come first. And in doing so, I need to flip my inequality from a greater than or equal to sign to a less than or equal to sign, and then a 2 on the right. So 2 being greater than or equal to k is the same thing as k is less than or equal to 2. Okay? So now let's go graph this. Let's go by 2's. -6. Okay. So k is less than or equal to 2. Since it's equal to 2, I have a closed circle at 2. And it's less than, so I'm going to put my arrow to the left. And now we have k is less than or equal to 2. We show the closed circle again at 2. And less than to the left. This graph matches the answer, which is k is less than or equal to 2. 9 is greater than or equal to a negative 2m plus 2 minus 3. Okay? Well, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to combine the 2 and the minus 3, right? So I'm going to leave the 9 over here as greater than or equal to negative 2m. 2 minus 3 is a negative 1, so we have minus 1 here. Okay? Well, now I'm going to add a 1 to both sides to get m by, try to get m by itself. So I add a 1 to both sides. Leaves me 9 plus 1 is 10. Is greater than or equal to negative 2m. I then can divide by negative 2 to both sides. Leave me with an m on the right there, and a 10 divided by negative 2 being a negative 5 on the left. But remember, when we divide by negative over the inequality, that inequality needs to flip. So that greater than or equal to sign turns into a less than or equal to sign. And then I want to now, finally, last little bit, write m by itself first. Okay? So to do that, so I have some room here, I'm going to write it right here. M first is greater than or equal to, right? Greater than or equal to, not less than or equal to, if m is going first, a negative 5. So we know that this statement here, negative 5 is less than or equal to m, is the same thing as m is greater than or equal to negative 5. So now I want to graph this. Okay? Excuse me. So we have, let's go 0, let's go at 5s, negative 5, negative 10, negative 15, and 5, 10, 15. So if m is greater than or equal to negative 5, I have a closed circle at negative 5, because it can equal negative 5. And then I need to shade to the right, because we said m was also greater than that negative 5. And now we have it. We have our graph that matches our final answer, which was m is greater than or equal to negative 5. Negative 3 is less than 6 times parentheses 4x plus 6 is greater than a negative 111. Okay? Well, there's a few ways you can solve this, and it really depends on how you want to do it. Okay? I'm going to distribute first. So I'm going to distribute the negative 6 times the negative 4, so negative 3. Negative 6 times the negative 4 is a negative 24x. And the negative 6 times the positive 6 is a negative 36. And we said that's less or greater than negative 111. Okay? Now I'm going to combine my like terms, the negative 3 plus a negative 36, right? Because that's like adding a negative, really. So negative 3 plus a negative 36 is a negative 39. So we have negative 24x plus a negative 39 is less than a negative 111. If I add a 39 to both sides, okay? If I add a 39 to both sides, we can use our calculator really quickly because it's a big problem. I'm not going to spend time necessarily doing that. So the negative 111 plus 39 comes out to be, calculator. There we go, a negative 72. So we have a negative 72 here, okay? And we have a negative 24x there. I then need to divide by a negative 24 to both sides to get x by itself. And what that does, well, negative 24, they cancel out right here, leaving me x by itself. I'm divided by a negative over the inequality. I need to flip that inequality. And negative 72 divided by negative 24 is 3. Okay? So we have x is less than 3 here. Okay? That's our final answer. So let's go graph that. Okay, less than 3, so it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and negative 1 and negative 2. X is less than 3, so it's not equal to 3, so we have an open circle at 3. And then we shade to the left because we say that x is less than 3. Okay, so x is less than 3, we're shading to the left, and it's an open circle because it's not equal to 3. And now we have it. We have our graph that matches our inequality, which is x is less than 3. 6 minus 4 times 6n plus 7 That's greater than or equal to 122. Well, in this one here, I'm going to subtract a 6 to both sides. That leaves me with a negative 4 times 6n plus 7 is greater than or equal to 122 minus 6 is 106, 116, not 106, 116, Sean. 116, okay? 116. Then, instead of distributing the negative 4, I'm just going to divide by negative 4 to both sides. That leaves me with what's in the parenthesis left. 6n plus 7 is, well, not a greater than sign, right? We divided by a negative over the inequality, so it needs to flip from a greater than or equal to sign to a less than or equal to sign. Remember that. Now, what's 116 divided by negative 4? Oh, I'm not going to try to do that in my head. 116 divided by 4, or negative 4, is a negative 29. Okay? Positive divided by negative is a negative. So then I need to subtract a 7 on both sides. Subtracting a 7 on both sides gives me 6n by itself is less than or equal to negative 29 minus 7 is a negative 36. I then can divide by 6 to both sides, leaving me with n by itself. N is less than or equal to negative 36 divided by 6 is a negative 6, not positive 6, 6, right? So there we have it. We have n is less than or equal to negative 6. So now I need to graph that. Okay, so I'm going to graph it right here. Let's go by 2s. I don't know, so let's go put 0 right here. 0, negative 2, negative 4, negative 6, negative 8, negative 10, negative 12, positive 2 here. So if n is less than or equal to negative 6, I have a closed circle at negative 6, and I need a shade to the left. Shade to the left there, right? Because we said n is less than that negative 6. So now our graph matches our final answer, which is n is less than or equal to a negative 6. So the negative 138 is greater than or equal to a negative 6 times 6b minus 7. Okay? Well, my first step is I want to divide by negative 6 to both sides. There's multiplication going on right there. I'm going to divide by negative 6 to both sides. What that's going to do is leave me with a 6b minus 7 on the right, and then negative 138 divided by negative 6. 138 divided by 6 is 23. Now it's a positive 23 because a negative divided by a negative is a positive. And then I need to flip my inequality from a greater than or equal to sign to a less than or equal to sign because we divided it by a negative over that inequality. So now let's just go add a 7 to both sides. 23 plus 7 is 30, is less than or equal to 6b. Divide by 6 to both sides. That leaves me with b by itself here on the right, and 30 divided by 6 being 5 on the left. Now I can rewrite this to have b come first, because that looks nice and neat. So if b comes first, I then have to flip that inequality, again, from a less than or equal to sign to a greater than or equal to sign, and have just a 5 on the right. So b is greater than or equal to just 5. So now I want to graph it. So let's put a graph right here, really quickly, a small little graph. Let's go by 5. So we have 0, 5, 10, 15, and negative 5 right here. Okay? Well, if b can equal 5, we're going to have a closed circle at 5. And then if b is greater than also 5, we're going to put our arrow to the right. And there we have it, where this graph shows that b is greater than or equal to 5. Equal to 5, closed circle, greater than with the arrow going to the right. That's it. That's our final answer. b is greater than or equal to 5. 167 is less than 6 plus 7 times 2 minus 7r. Okay? Well, I'm going to subtract a 6 to both sides to try to bring things over. Okay? There's many ways to solve this problem. 167 minus 6 is a 161. Is less than 7 now, times 2 minus 7r. Okay? Well, if I want to divide by 7 on both sides, that would eliminate this 7 here. Okay? Instead of distributing it across. Well, what's 161 divided by 7? I personally don't know off the top of my head. 161 divided by 7, let's use our calculator. We have 23. So a 23 here is less than 2 minus 7r. Okay? Now it becomes a more manageable problem. I'm going to subtract the 2 to both sides, leaving me 23 minus 2 is 21, is less than a negative 7r. Well, now I can divide by a negative 7 to both sides, leaving me at 21 divided by negative 7 is a negative 3. And then the r here is just on the right because the negative 7's cancel. Remember, we're divided by a negative over the inequality. The sign needs a flip. Okay? But I'm not done because I want to rewrite this so r comes first. So if r is coming first, we have r there. Is now instead of negative 3 being greater than r, I have r is less than a negative 3. These two statements are the same, but make sure when you rewrite it, have r first, you need to flip that inequality again. Okay? So now we have our final answer. I need to graph it. So let's graph it right here. We have an r is less than a negative 3. So we have 0, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. If I can fit it in there, negative 4, negative 5, negative 6, positive 1, and positive 2. Well, if r is less than a negative 3, it's not equal to negative 3, so I'm going to put an open circle there at negative 3. Then we shade to the left, or put our arrow to the left, because r is less than that negative 3. And there we have it. We have our graph here that represents, or matches, our answer, which is r is less than a negative 3. 5 times parenthesis 6 plus 3r parentheses plus 7 is greater than or equal to 127. Okay? Well, my first step, I'm going to subtract a 7 at both sides. Subtract a 7 at both sides leaves me with 5 times parentheses 6 plus 3r is less than or equal to 127 minus 7 being 120. Now I have the 5 multiplied out front, so I'm going to divide by 5. Opposite multiplication is division. And we have 6 plus 3r on the left is greater than or equal to 120 divided by 5. I believe that's 24, but let's see. 120 divided by 5. 24 is correct. That's why I have, a college degree. So I need to subtract by 6 now to both sides, right? To get 3r by itself. So if 3r is greater than or equal to 25 minus 6 being 19. 25 is 24. And I wrote 25. Sorry about that. I wonder who caught it. If you caught it before I did it, put it in the comment section. So we have 24 minus 6 is 18, right? So I don't know how I put 25. I wasn't thinking. It's 24. 18. Now divide by 3 to both sides. Leaves me r by itself here is greater than or equal to 18 divided by 3, which is 6. Which is great. So now we have r isolated. It's by itself, so I'm going to graph it. Make a little number line right here. Let's go by 2s. So we have 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and negative 2 right there. So we have said r is greater than or equal to a positive 6. So we have a closed circle at 6 because it can equal that. And I'm going to shade to the right because we have r is greater than 6. So now this graph matches my final answer, which is r is greater than or equal to 6. Negative 8x plus 2x minus 16 is less than negative 5x plus 7x. Okay? Kind of wrote it all to the right. So now we're going to combine our like terms on each side. I see there's x's on both sides, so I'm just going to combine them. Negative 8x plus 2x is a negative 6x minus 616, and is less than negative 5x plus 2x, or 7x, I'm just getting ahead of myself, is 2x. Okay? So now, in one quick little step, by combining them, I also have a much easier problem. Okay? Well, let's go do this. I'm going to, let's add a 6x to both sides. I'm going to bring my x's to the right. Okay? That leaves me with a negative 16 here on the left is less than 2x plus 6x, which is 8x. Okay? Now I have negative 16 here is less than 8x. I'm going to divide both sides by 8, and it's negative 16 divided by 8 is negative 2 is less than x. But now here's the tricky part. I want to have x written first. So I'm going to rewrite that. If x comes first, I need to flip my inequality, and it's greater than a negative 2. These two answers are very similar in the sense that they mean the same thing, essentially. Negative 2 being less than x is the same thing as 2x is greater than negative 2. But this is written differently and having x come first. So now I can graph this. Let's go, I can probably fit it underneath, that's fine. So let's go by 2, 0, negative 2, negative 4, positive 2, positive 4, and let's go to positive 6. Fine. So we said x is greater than a negative 2. So I have an open circle at negative 2 because it's not equal to negative 2. It's just greater than. So I have an open circle at negative 2. and I put my arrow to the right because we said x can be greater than that -2. So this graph now matches my final answer, which is x is greater than a -2. -1 minus 6x minus 6 is greater than -11 minus 7x. Okay? Well, from there, what I can do is let's go combine our like terms on each side. So I have the -1 and minus a 6 there. So that's going to give me, I'm going to put the -6 out front, -1 minus the 6 is at -7 is greater than -11 minus 7x. So now I'm going to bring my x's over to the left and my numbers to the right. So I'm going to add a 7x to both sides. And I'm going to do this all in one step, okay? I'm going to add a 7 to both sides as well. Okay? That leaves me a -6x plus 7x is a positive 1x is greater than. And then -11 plus a positive 7 comes out to be a -4. Okay? So now we actually kind of did like 2 steps in one step, 2 parts, but make sure we all lined up the right numbers and stuff. But we have x here is greater than a -4. So now I can graph this. Okay? So x is greater than -4. Let's go by 2's. So 0, -2, -4, -6. And positive 2 and positive 4, and positive 6, and let's make it even -8. Okay, so we said x is greater than a -4. Well, it's not equal to -4, it's just greater than, so I have an open circle at -4. Then I need to put my arrow to the right. We said x was greater than that -4, and now we have it. We have our graph here that matches our inequality, which is x is greater than a -4. A minus 6 is less than or equal to 15 plus 8a. Okay? Well, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to combine my like terms. I'm going to bring my a's over to the left, and my numbers to the right. So I'm going to subtract an 8a to both sides. And then I'm going to add a 6 to both sides. And what that does, a minus 8a is a -7a, is less than or equal to, right, 15 plus 6, which is 21. Okay? Well, now I need to get a by itself. So I'm going to divide by -7 to both sides. And we have a by itself here. Now, since I divided by a negative over the inequality, that inequality needs to flip from a less than or equal to sign to a greater than or equal to sign. So we have greater than or equal to 21 divided by -7 is a -3. Positive divided by negative is a negative. And now we have a isolated, and that's it. A is greater than or equal to a -3. So now I want to graph it. Well, let's go by 3's. 3, 6, 9, -3, -6, -9. Well, if a is greater than or equal to a -3, the key thing first is equal to, means a closed circle at -3. Okay? Now, since a is also greater than -3, I'm going to put my arrow to the right, showing that a is greater than my -3. And that's it. We have our graph here that matches our inequality, which is a is greater than or equal to a -3. 13 plus 2v minus 8 plus 6 is greater than a -7 minus v. Okay? Big problem here. Okay? So what I need to do is combine my like terms on the left. That's like my first step. And some people want to do it all in one step, the 13 and the -8 and the positive 6. What I'm going to do is actually just leave the 13 for my first step to v. And just quickly here, -8 plus 6 is a -2. Okay? Is greater than -7 minus v, not a 4. Okay? V. Okay? Well, now let's go deal with the -2 and the 13. Okay? 13 and -2 come out to be 11. So we have 11 plus 2b is greater than -7 minus v. So now I'm going to bring all my v's to the left and my numbers to the right. So I'm going to add a v to both sides. V to both sides. And I'm going to subtract 11 to both sides. 2v plus v is 3v. And that's still greater than. And then subtracting 11, -7 minus 11 is a -18. Okay? So now I have 3v is greater than a -18. I divide by 3 to both sides, giving me v by itself. And so v is greater than -18 divided by 3 is a -6. There we have it. V is isolated and it's greater than a -6. So now I need to graph this. Okay? So I'm going to make my little number line here, and let's go by threes. 0, -3, -6, -9, and we have 3, 6, 9. Okay, so v being greater than -6 is not equal to a -6, just greater than. I have an open circle at -6. Okay, then I want to put my arrow to the right, giving me here, because v is greater than, my graph. All right, so -6 because it's not equal to, it's just greater than, so it's just not equal to open circle, and then greater than, put an arrow to the right. And there we have it. Our graph here matches our final answer, which is v is greater than -6. -5n minus 6n is less than or equal to 8 minus 8n minus n. Okay? Well, first thing I want to do is combine my like terms on each side. So -5n minus 6n is a -11n, and that's less than or equal to 8 minus, so we have -8n minus n is a -9n, so we have minus 9n. Now I want to bring my 9n over to the left, so I'm going to add a 9n to both sides. -11n plus 9n is a -2n, and that's less than or equal to 8, which is just there on the right. Now I want to divide by -2 to both sides. Leave me with n by itself is less than, not really less than, is it? Right? We got to flip that inequality. We're dividing by a negative over the inequality. So from the less than equal to sign turns into a greater than equal to sign. 8 divided by -2 is a -4. And now we have our answer. N is greater than or equal to a -4, so I need to graph it. So graph it here. Put 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, -2, -4, -6, -8. Okay? Well, if n can equal a -4, we're going to put a closed circle right there at -4. And since n is greater than -4, also put the arrow to the right. And now we have a graph that matches our inequality, which is n is greater than or equal to a -4. -x is less than a -x plus 7 times x minus 2. Okay? Well, my first step is I'm actually, people have different ways they want to do this. I'm gonna distribute let's distribute the 7 first. I'm gonna distribute the 7 first. So the -x is right here by itself is less than -x plus 7 times x is 7x, and 7 times -2 is -14. So now let's combine our like terms on each side. -x is still here on the left. -x plus 7x is 6x on the right, minus 14. Okay? So I'm going to bring my x's over, so let's just subtract the 6x on both sides. And that leaves me with -x minus 6x is a -7x on the left, is less than a -14 on the right. Okay? Well, now what I want to do is I'm going to get x by itself, so I'm going to divide by -7 to both sides. And that gives me x by itself, and -14 divided by -7 is a +2, but I need to flip the inequality because now I'm dividing by a negative over that inequality. So now we have x is greater than 2, okay? And x is isolated, which that's fantastic, right? So now I need to graph it. Make a little graph here. Let's go by 2s. Let's put 0 here. 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, -2, -4. Okay? Well, since x is just greater than 2, not equal to, we put an open circle at 2. And then we put our arrow to the right because x is greater than that 2. And now we have our graph here that matches our inequality, which is x is greater than 2. -5n plus 6 is greater than or equal to -7 times 5n minus 6 minus 6n. Okay? It's a little shifted to the right there. All right? So my first step is I'm going to distribute that -7. So let's rewrite this over here. -5n plus 6 is greater than, distribute -7 times 5n is -35n, and -7 times a -6, which is positive, right, plus a -6 is a +42, and then that's minus 6n on the right. So now let's combine our like terms on each side. So we have -5n plus 6. I'm going to leave that by itself because there's nothing to combine there. And then -35n minus 6n, we combine them together, and that becomes a -41n plus 42. Okay? So now let's bring our like terms together. So I'm going to add a 41n to both sides, right here, plus 41n. And I'm going to subtract a 6 to both sides. Let's do both at the same time here. Bring my n's to the left, my numbers to the right. Well, positive 41n, and the minus 5n, or negative 5n, plus 41n, comes out to be a 36. 36n, positive 36. That's greater than or equal to, and then negative 42 minus 6. 42 minus 6 comes out to be a 36. Okay? So now we have 36n is greater than or equal to 36. I divide by 36 to both sides, leaving me with n by itself on the left, and it's greater than or equal to 36 divided by 36, which is 1. So now we have n isolated. I can graph it. Okay? So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. Okay? Well, if n is greater than or equal to 1, I have a closed circle at 1 because it can equal that 1. And then I put my arrow to the right because we said n is greater than that as well. And so now we have a graph here that matches our final answer, which is n is greater than or equal to 1. 3 times p minus 3 minus 5p is greater than negative 3p minus 6. Okay? Well, first thing, I'm going to distribute that 3 across here. So 3 times p is 3p, and 3 times a negative 3 is negative 9. Then we have minus 5p here is greater than negative 3p minus 6. Just kind of writing the rest out. Okay? Let's combine our like terms now on each side. 3p and a minus 5p together come into be a negative 2p, so we have negative 9 minus 2p is greater than negative 3p minus 6. So let's bring our like terms together. I'm going to add a 3p to both sides, and I'm going to add a 9 to both sides. So my p is to the left, my number is to the right. Okay, well, negative 2p plus 3p comes out to be a positive 1p. That's still greater than, and then negative 6 plus 9 is a positive 3. And now we have p by itself, so p is greater than a 3. So now I graph this. Graph it here. Let's go by 3's. 0, 3, 6, 9, 12, and negative 3 and negative 6. Okay? Well, since p is greater than 3, we have an open circle at 3 because it's not equal to, just greater than. And then I put my arrow to the right, stating that all these values here to the right is what p can be, and those p values need to be greater than 3. So my graph matches my answer, which is p is greater than 3. 28 minus k is greater than or equal to 7 times k minus 4. Okay? Well, first thing, I'm going to distribute the 7 across to both parts. So we have 28 minus k here is greater than or equal to 7 times k is 7k. And 7 times negative 4, this comes out to be negative 28. Okay? So now I'm going to bring my like terms together. So let's bring my k's to the left and my numbers to the right. So I'm going to subtract the 7k to both sides. And I'm going to subtract the 28 to both sides, leaving me with negative k minus 7k is a negative 8k on the left is greater than or equal to negative 28 minus a negative 28. Okay, so 28, so we're kind of adding them together, but they're both going to be negative here. That comes out to be, is it 56? Yeah, 56. But negative 56, okay? So now we need to divide by negative 8 to both sides to get k by itself. So I divide by negative 8 here, leaving me with k by itself here. And negative 56 divided by negative 8 is a positive 7. And then, since I divide by a negative over the inequality, I flip that inequality from a greater than or equal to sign to a less than or equal to sign. Now we have k isolated, which is great, so now we need to graph it. So let's look at our number line here. Let's go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. Okay? Well, we said that k was less than or equal to 7, so we have a closed circle here at 7. And then it's less than, so I'm going to make my arrow to the left here. And now we have a graph here that matches our inequality, which is k is less than or equal to 7. 28 minus 7x is less than or equal to a negative 4 times negative 7x minus 7. Okay? Well, my first step is I'm going to combine my I can't combine my like terms. I'm going to distribute the negative 4. So we have 28 here minus 7x is less than or equal to negative 4 times a negative 7x is a positive 28x, because a negative times a negative is a positive, and negative 4 times negative 7, again, is a positive 28. Okay? So now we're going to bring our like terms together. Let's bring our x's to one side, our numbers to the other. It's really up to you. And this one here, I'm going to bring my x's to the right. So I'm going to add a 7x to both sides. And I'm going to subtract the 28 to both sides. And what that leaves me here is 28 minus 28, which is 0, is less than or equal to 28 plus 7 is 35x, right? 28x plus 7x. So now we have 0 is less than or equal to 35x. I'm going to divide both sides by 35. Give me, well, 0 divided by 35 is 0, so 0 is less than or equal to x, right there. I'm going to rewrite this so x comes first. So we have, well, x going first here is greater than or equal to 0. Make sure you flip the inequality. If you rearrange the whole equation or inequality, having x going first. So now instead of 0 is less than or equal to x, we have x is greater than or equal to 0. And there we have it. So now we need to graph it. Pretty simple. Don't let the 0 scare you. Because zeros go by, I don't know, 5, so who cares, right? 5, 10, 15, negative 5, negative 10, negative 15. Okay? Well, since 0 is greater than or equal to, or x is greater than or equal to 0, we have a closed circle at 0 because it can equal 0, and our arrow goes to the right because x is also greater than that 0. So now our graph here matches our answer, which is x is greater than or equal to 0. Negative 6 times 1 plus 7k plus 7 times 1 plus 6k is less than or equal to negative 2. Okay? Well, let's go distribute each one of these parentheses out. So negative 6 times 1 is a negative 6, plus negative 6 times 7k is a negative 42k, plus 7 times 1 is 7, 7 times 6k is a positive 42k, and that's less than or equal to negative 2. Okay? So now let's combine our like terms. We have negative 42k and a positive 42k. Well, let's rearrange it so we can see it easier. So negative 6 plus 7 here, minus 42k, or plus a negative, I believe we had it as, plus 42k is less than or equal to negative 2. Okay? Well, negative 42k plus 42k is just 0, and negative 6 plus 7 is a positive 1, and that's less than or equal to negative 2, so 1 is less than or equal to negative 2, because 1 plus 0 is just 1. Alright, my variable is gone, right? And we have 1 is less than or equal to negative 2. Is that a true statement? No, 1 is not, right? 1 is not less than or equal to negative 2. That's false, right? I don't like that, okay? So, okay, how do we graph that? Well, if I graph it up my number line here, 0, 2, 4, 6, negative 2, negative 4, negative 6. How do I graph it? Well, I can't graph it. There's actually no solution here. So there's no solution. No solution because, well, this is not a true statement. That means there's no value that makes this, no value that we can put in for k that makes this true. So we have no graph. So our answer is just no solution, and there's no graph. Negative 2 times parentheses 2 minus 2x minus 4 times x plus 5 is less than or equal to a negative 24. Okay? Alright, so my first thing I want to do is I'm going to distribute. So negative 2 times 2 is a negative 4. Negative 2 minus 2 times a negative 2x is a positive 4x. Now make sure when we distribute, that minus sign goes to both parts. So 4 times x here is minus 4x, and then 4 times 5 is a negative 20, right? That minus sign needs to go to both parts, is less than or equal to negative 24. Well, let's combine our like terms here. Well, 4x minus 4x is just 0, right? So we can have negative 4 plus 0 minus 20 is less than or equal to negative 24. And then negative 4 plus 0 is nothing. Minus 20 is a negative 24. So a negative 24 is less than or equal to a negative 24. Okay? Well, that's it. There's no more variable. And is this a true statement? Is negative 24 less than or equal to a negative 24? And that is true. That is a true statement, right? Because it can equal each other. Okay? And so since that's a true statement, right? True statement, we're good. Our answer is all real numbers. All real numbers, okay? Meaning that any number that we plug in for x here, any real number, that will make this a true statement. So all real numbers work. So how do we graph that? So I have my number line here. 0, 1, or 2, 4, 6, -2, -4, -6. Well, how I graph this is actually, I just draw a line and an arrow on both sides showing that all real numbers, any real number that could possibly exist, would work for this equation or this inequality, making it true. Okay? So our graph matches our final answer of all real numbers. 3 times 1 minus 2x is greater than 3 minus 6x. Okay? Well, my first step is I want to distribute that 3 across. So 3 times 1 is 3, and 3 times a -2x is a -6x here, right? Distribute 3 across is greater than 3 minus 6x. So let's combine our like terms. Let's bring our x's over to the right, plus 6x at both sides. And I'm going to subtract a 3 to both sides. Leave me, well, 3 minus 3 is 0, right? And these cancel. Is greater than -6x plus 6x is also 0, right? So now I have 0 is greater than 0. Is that a true statement? Is that a true statement? No, it's not, right? 0 is not greater than 0. 0 is equal to 0, but 0 is not greater than 0. Because it's not a true statement, that's false, right? We then would say no solution. Meaning, it doesn't matter what value for x that we plug in, we're never going to get a solution that works. That's a true statement. So how do we graph that? Well, I make my number line here. I don't know, 5s again. 5, 10, 15, -5, -10, -15. Well, our graph is nothing. There's no graph that we can have here because there's no solution that makes this work. Okay, so my graph matches my final answer of no solution. -2 times 5. I'm going to put a big. That's not going to look good. 5 plus 6n is less than 6 times 8 minus 2n. Okay? Well, first thing I want to do is distribute for both parentheses there. So -2 times 5 is a -10, and -2 times 6n is a -12n. And that's less than 6 times 8, which is 48, and 6 times -2 is a -12n. Well, now I'm going to combine my like terms. So I'm going to add a 12n to both sides. Let's bring our n's to the left. And our numbers to the right. I'm going to add a 10 to both sides. What that leaves me is -12n plus 12n is just 0, is less than, and then 48 plus 10 is 58, right? So now we have 0 is less than 58. Is that a true statement? Yes, it is. Since it's a true statement, my answer here is all real numbers, right? It's a true statement. We have all real numbers. There's no variable here left, so it's just a number is less than another number or whatever it is, but it ends up just numbers there, and it's a true statement, meaning all real numbers. Meaning that we can plug any number we want for n, and it will be a true statement, all right? And it could be 5, 15, -30. Who knows? Who cares? All real numbers will work. So now I need to graph that. Well, how do I graph that? So 2, 4, 6, 8. Who do we appreciate? -2, -4, -6, -8. All real numbers, when we graph it here, right? The way we show that is I just put a line and an arrow going in both directions, meaning that all these numbers, no matter what the numbers are, they will work for this inequality. Okay, -50, -50, let's say +50, a million. Any real number that we want, we can plug in and we'll make this work. Okay, so our graph matches our final answer of all real numbers.
Minute Math. When you need help, you use Minute Math. Minute Math. When you need help, you use Minute Math. MinuteMathTutor.com.